Hello, I'm Beth Ruske, and joining me is Dr. Alison Miller. We are here today as partners in Tiara International, and this is our Friday Tiara Talks. And today we are going to be talking about what matters most. And we're going to just take that topic about, being able to focus on what matters most to you, because what matters most to me, I can guarantee you, is not the same thing that matters most to Alison or anybody else. But we're going to talk about really being able to tap in and tune into what matters most to you as a leader, as a woman, as a man, as an individual, what matters most to you and living your life from that perspective. So, Alison, I know this is a fun topic for you. It's something that you think about a lot. What are some of the things that, like I know this week has been a runaway train in some respects, which is why this topic is so important to us. But what are some things that brought this to your awareness this week?
Well, I have a lot going on right now. Like I was actually telling Beth before we started this recording that I really have more on my plate than is reasonable for a human being, and it requires an enormous amount of stamina. And every day there's things that like I intend to do. And then there's all the things that come at me in my inbox and the phone and the text messaging and all the things that are happening, like last Wednesday, our website went down, like things that are unexpected. So I can tell there's a huge difference in when I run. There's kind of two different almost versions of how I can operate in a busy day. One is the version where I'm really more in a reactive mode of just, I'm not actually directing my attention and my focus onto anything like in a deliberate way. I'm reacting to what's coming at me and ferociously working and moving through things. And that's when I'm really vulnerable to multitasking and really jacking up looks like my nervous system gets real jacked up and I'm using more of like a fight or flight kind of way of getting through the day, a lot of adrenaline. And that can be fun. We can like that thrill, but the reality is that it's really very, very unkind to my system. It really doesn't work. And what I become blind to is, wait a minute, what actually matters? What matters most, right? And so in my mind lately, I'm often like, wait a minute. Like when I feel the sensations in the body that tell me I'm probably in that more fight or flight mode. And that, by the way, being able to focus on what matters most requires that you learn to discern and feel when your body is not focused on what matters most. You can often tell. Anyway, though, there's also this other mode where I'm stopping, honestly, like throughout the day, many, many, many times, pulling back out and saying, okay, what actually does matter most? What is it that I'm choosing to do? What do I want to focus on? And I just want to make one last point about that. One of the things that is very easy to do as a leader and as a human being is to rehearse tragedy, to rehearse breakdowns. Our minds will start imagining, well, what if this happens? What if that happens? What if we don't make the sale? What if, whatever. And what we don't realize is that our focus is actually in an imaginary world, rehearsing a tragedy that has actually not happened. And so I've been really deliberate about noticing when I'm rehearsing breakdowns before they occur. And then I'm actually creating a physiological arousal in my body that leaves me prone to working in a more reactive way versus being able to focus on what actually really matters.
That's really brilliant, Alison. There's been a lot of things published over the years about where you put your focus, what you're focusing on. There's a lot of ways to say it, but for me, it's always been, there was a phrase I heard even, 30 or 40 years ago, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're probably right. And it's the power of your predisposition. It's what you're thinking, which is driving then this feeling, so it's really this focus. It's you're focusing, make sure you have the awareness of feeling what's in your body and the awareness of your mind too. What are the thoughts that are either polluting your mind, limiting yourself or empowering yourself in a, productive way? And I think these two things, they are just so potent when we can manage them together. But what I don't encourage our clients is when, they're in their head a lot. They're thinking, and they don't recognize what's going on in their body. And you're talking about being able to recognize it. Like the minute, like it's like when I chop vegetables, I'm not Martha Stewart in the kitchen. I never claimed to be, but I'm like so concentrating when I'm chopping vegetables. My jaw's tight, my teeth are clenched. Everything about me is tense. Like I feel that, and I have to remind myself, relax. You're just chopping vegetables, that kind of thing. But there's something like that that's happening in each of our bodies when we're getting hijacked or when we're feeling that fight or flight or freeze moment, and not being able to recognize it, not having that awareness, I think is really key, because we're either going to get hijacked or we're going to be intentional, as you've described.
Exactly. So I bought myself this little thing. It's a timer where you can set it to however many, 5, 10, 20, or 25 minutes. And the reason I bought this was so that I would practice working where I'm only doing one thing at a time.
Wow.
Because I have so much going on that left to my own devices, I'll be here, and here. Where's my focus, right? Where I'm not, like, the gift of my capacity to focus and concentrate. One of the key things we often really need to be able to focus on what matters is we need internal and external boundaries. So we need to actually, for example, if I know that there's a part of me that gets real, like, fearful about, I've got to get back to everybody as quickly as possible. When I get into that mode, I actually need to set an internal boundary where I remind myself, you are doing one thing at a time, and people will hear back from you when you can get back to them. Slow it down, but also having, external boundaries where, for example, people ask me all the time, well, can't you squeeze me in? I actually cannot squeeze you in, because while technically I could, what I'm doing is I'm endangering my capacity to focus on what matters most, because I'm putting too much, there's just way too much on my plate. Our concentration and our focus need to know where to go.
Right.
And then once you know where they go, you have to figure out, how do you create a container so that they can stay? And to very, very, very kind, you have to be super kind when you notice, it's a comedy, how much we're not focused on what matters. Right. It's actually humbling and stunning.
Yeah. Well, I think the good news thread throughout all of this is that this is a skill that can be honed. Like, you're holding up that cube that is giving you one thing, just one thing, this time frame, 5 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever it is. But it can be cultivated. This isn't like, we're not doomed to feel this way or to do and operate in this system, forever. I mean, the moment we start to change it, the moment we start to put our focus where we intend it to go, we start to break the cycle. And all that is a muscle we need to keep.
And I feel like it's a training.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. It's like I'm training for an Olympic event. It's just ongoing, constant. It's constant training. I'm constantly working inside myself. And I want to say one thing about concentration focus. If you're working on different projects that do not require email, your email must be closed. And I was going to show my phone, but we all know what phones look like. The phone is actually training us to be inattentive. Yeah. And so really pay attention to the impact that technology is having on you and how it's affecting your ability to focus on what matters. And closing down your email and having your phone away from you where you cannot even touch it and you cannot hear anything is really important to be able to really actually, here's a term that I really like to focus on what matters. Small assignments, surrendered focus.
Ooh, that's great. Yeah. Well, we hope we're leaving you today with some good thoughts. Our intention is to talk about what's on our minds, because it's probably on your minds. And when we do that, we always like to leave you with hope. So I like where Alison has given us some, tips and some small, look, if we thought we were going to boil the ocean, we wouldn't get started. But these are just little things we can do that will make a huge difference in your day and in your life and the way you're feeling. So we hope that you'll find one or two things that you just, help hone in that focus. Give yourself, I'm focusing on this, and it doesn't have to be an hour. We'd actually recommend it not be an hour because you're going to lose track inside of that. So small, short bites, give it a try. Let us know how it goes. Thank you.